Welcome to HR from Happy Valley.
And we are the Penn Staters.
This is a show where we will discuss topics and issues relevant to HR in today's society. We will inform our listeners on the ups and downs in the ever-changing world of HR. Segments will include Here's the News, Hot Topics, and Ask the Expert.
On today's podcast, we will discuss everything from COVID-19, professionalism in the workplace, and have an interview with our guest star, Jeremy Balfour. Now on to our newscasters.
Hello, my name is Brett, and I'm currently a senior, and I plan to work in the food and beverage industry after graduation.
Hi, my name is Ke Xu. I am junior, majoring in hospitality management, and I want to get into hospitality industry after graduation.
Hi, I'm Harrison. I'm currently a junior, and I'm hoping to go into the hotel and resort industry when I graduate.
Hi, I'm Des, and I'm a junior, and I'm planning on working in the hotel industry after graduation.
Hi, I'm Leo. I'm currently a senior, and I'm graduating this semester, planning to work in the hotel and real estate industry.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I'm a junior this year, and after I graduate, I'm hoping to go into the theme park industry and later on hotels.
Our first segment today is Here's the News. In this segment, each of our reporters will discuss a recent article they found relating to their respective desks. Up first today is Sarah.
Hi everyone, my name is Sierra, and I will be reporting to you from the Here's Something Cool desk. With me today, our little segment will be called Benefits. What's up with that? In our changing world, how benefits look is changing too, and it's hard to keep up. Thankfully, the article I'll be discussing with you today can break it down for us a little, hopefully. You won't believe how unbelievably cool some of the changes actively implemented are. The article is called Remote Working Will Transform Employer Benefit Offerings. It was published by Forbes on October 27, 2020, and was written by Rebecca Henderson. She tells us some of the new benefits that could be arising from the COVID-19 pandemic that has struck our nation. Some of the really cool ones include more flexibility, with working being more remote and parents stuck at home with kids. Figuring out when to time things can be tricky, so more flexible schedule in the workplace could be coming our way soon. Another is vacation benefits. Travel is down, so new rollover policies could replace use it or lose it ones. One of the benefits being reevaluated that people are most eager to learn about, though, is healthcare. Seeing a doctor can be a little tricky right now, so telehealth visits might be covered in the future. The author states that these new and changing policies can show employees that they are cared about and valued at a time when it's hard to feel that way through a video screen. I find these things really cool because when evaluating where you want to work, benefits can be a huge consideration. New benefits like these can reshape where people are wanting to go as companies adapt to our new online life. I'm looking forward to reading about some of the new changes my favorite companies will implement. My advice to practicing managers would be to listen to your employees, find out the support they want and need during these trying times, and find ways to implement them into their workplace. From an SHRM article, Employers Continue to Alter Benefits in Response to Pandemic, published February 1st, and written by Stephen Miller, we can see an update on how benefits are being handled. For example, reimbursements for work-from-home expenses are being considered, as well as more updates to paid and unpaid leave policies. The examples we discussed before are evolving and becoming implemented in workplaces as the pandemic continues and possibly comes to an end. How we handle our employees is everything. And with that, I pass the mic over to my fellow newscaster, Leo.
Hi, my name is Leo. The article I read in Here's Something Innovative Desk is the interview from Bloomberg Business Week with the yoga firm Chobani's CEO, Hamdi Ulukaya. He discussed a few points about HR management during the pandemic and how they do differently. He mentioned that the pandemic does not affect their long-term plan, and their sales ended up a new record. They are different because they are linked companies, which means there's no such hierarchy in the management. They strongly focus on their product even during the pandemic. Every employee has a chance to taste the new product at the house and give some feedback. Recently, they offered free COVID-19 vaccination to their employees. Besides taking care of their employees, They are also bringing social issues to the forefront through a virtual child hunger summit and the moving humanity forward documentary on refugees. I found the current news about Japanese interesting because even during the pandemic, they show their concern about the product, employees, and the community as usual. They also causes us to deeply think about hiring people who are immigrants and refugees, which are very beneficial to the entire company. Now I pass the mic over to Des.
Thanks, Leo. Hi, everyone. My name is Des, and I will be reporting to you from the Here's Something Everyone Should Care About desk. On January 20th, Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States. A new president comes with a lot of changes, and in an article I found on Inc.com titled What a Biden Presidency Will Mean for Your Workplace, the author highlights some of the changes that we can expect from Biden and his administration during his time in office. One change that is expected is that the Be Heard in the Workplace Act will become law. If you don't know what that is, this is a law to increase protections against sexual harassment in the workplace. And if this bill does become law, sexual harassment training will be required everywhere instead of it just being up to the states like it is now. This bill will also increase the time an employee has to make a claim to 4 years instead of just 6 months. Another change that we can expect is for Biden to implement the Paycheck Fairness Act. Although gender discrimination for pay is illegal, this bill makes the protections already in place even stronger. The last change I want to mention is that Biden supports a $15 minimum wage. Minimum wage sits at $7.25, and this has not been increased since 2009. So we can definitely expect to see some sort of change regarding minimum wage during Biden's time in office. If you want to learn more about what a Biden presidency could mean for your workplace, check out the article on Inc.com. Now, I will pass it off to Harrison to further discuss the effects of a $15 minimum wage.
Thanks, Des. I'm Harrison, and I'll be sharing something to watch out for. Welcome to Wage Wars, where we try to determine what exactly an increased minimum wage will mean for the HR world. An article published in The Atlantic titled The Counterintuitive Workings of the Minimum Wage by Annie Lowry weighs the pros and cons of an increased minimum wage the Biden administration has been pushing for. The conventional reasoning for leaving the federal minimum wage at $7.25 an hour is that unemployment rates would go up because businesses wouldn't be able to afford low-wage workers. And a lot of small businesses would just simply go out of business because they wouldn't be able to afford those low-wage positions. But Lowry turns to new data, showing that low-wage positions don't really see much of a drop-off when the minimum wage is increased. The article cites a study done at UC Berkeley that found that setting the floor as high as 80% of average wages has no effect on employment rates, and $15 would be about 65% of the national average wage. Lowry also points out that just like when cost of supplies go up, when labor costs increase, businesses will just pass that increased expense onto the consumer. The article closes by making the argument that even if someone making minimum wage has their hours cut in half, if their wage is increased from $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour, they'll still end up with more money in their pocket at the end of the year. And sure, there'll be a lot of turnover, but low-wage positions see high turnover rates as it is. For HR managers, an increased minimum wage and higher turnover rates could pose a challenging future. Between different staffing schedules and having to hire new employees more often, the role of an HR manager could definitely look different in the future. But none of this is happening just yet. And even if it were to get signed into action this week, we probably wouldn't see any impact for several months. But definitely something to watch out for. And now I'll pass it on to Ka, who is discussing the pandemic and how it is shaping the workplace.
Hello everyone, my name is Ke Xu, and I will be sharing something important. The article is How has the COVID-19 pandemic shaped the future of work? Uncertainty has become the norm in last year as employers and employees respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and evolving needs in a time when safety is paramount. The pandemic and its economic impact are affecting low-wage earners and people of color. Therefore, employers and federal leaders are developing more collaborative decision-making processes And during this process, they found many issues such as the inadequacies of social safety nets for many workers. Although the federal government passes temporary laws expanding unemployment and paid leave benefits, especially when stay-at-home orders took effect earlier last year, employers realized that they were forced to apply laws to situations that had never previously existed. Moreover, the pandemic has highlighted the lack of safety net for many independent contractors because they are not entitled to employment benefits. So, rethinking the labor law is necessary. The rapid and dramatic transformation happened in the workplaces because of this pandemic. And one of the dramatic changes was the shift to the remote work. Therefore, we can see the importance of technology in the workplace. So, as we look at rebuilding our economy, we need to look at how we can do that to be more equitable and inclusive. And with that, I pass my mic over to my fellow newscaster, Brett.
Thanks, Ke. This is Brett, and I'll be reporting from the Here's Something to Think About desk. Today's segment is called Catching Feelings or Contracts. And the article I'll be discussing is titled Workplace Romance, Many Millennials and Gen Zers Would Never. It was written by Kritika Varagur and published in the Wall Street Journal on November 22nd, 2020. The main discussion of the article has to do with the factors that inhibit millennials and Gen Zers from engaging in any kind of intimate relationships with their coworkers. I found it interesting that the author argues that this generation's careers have been and are being directly affected by events like the 2007 to 2009 recession, the Me Too movement, and the coronavirus pandemic. It's already hard enough to hold a steady job during these times, but with the increased awareness of workplace harassment, millennials and Gen Zers are concerned about dating their coworkers. Part of this is due to many companies having dating policies in which the couple must disclose the fact that they're dating to the whole workplace. That's no fun. Add in the global pandemic and a plethora of online dating apps, and you have every reason not to interact with your coworkers. Within recent years, there has been increased stigma around work relationships, according to Gen Zers. Aaron Brady, a 20-year-old college student, says that when it comes to workplace dating, it's seen as not professional to do so, and you're seen as not focusing on your work. Despite these stigmas, workplace romance simply can't be stopped sometimes, and it will still inevitably continue to happen. Therefore, it's important for HR to understand how to best handle these relationships. No matter what approach your company takes when it comes to workplace romance, managers should make sure that they do their best to inform their employees about the policies surrounding this topic. Rather than leaving the topic on the back burner, employees will know what the policies are around dating and how to best navigate them. Although the future of many workplaces may become virtual, this will still continue to be an important issue to think about.
Wow, those are some really interesting articles. It's amazing to see how much overlap there is in the world of HR. Your article reminded me of my own when you were talking about paid leave benefits. What do you think?
Sarah, I like the article you chose about. The news benefits such as the flexible schedule, vacation benefits, and healthcare arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. It reshaped the workplace and at the same time brought some benefits to the employees.
Hey guys, I like both of your articles about remote working and paid leave issues during the pandemic. HR management indeed changed a lot of things during the pandemic, and it's very challenging for every company. In my article about Jabani, it's very interesting that the CEO sends samples to everyone's house to make the employees feel engaged in remote working mode.
Harrison, I really enjoyed the article you chose discussing the possibility of a $15 minimum wage. This article brought up a new perspective that I hadn't really thought much about, and I wonder if the minimum wage will increase from $7.25 to 15 right away, or if they'll gradually increase it instead.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Des, I thought that your article was cool. It mentioned the new Be Heard in the Workplace Act, which will hopefully lead to increased protection against sexual harassment in the workplace. It'll be interesting to see if these new required trainings will further affect the younger generations and whether or not they will engage in workplace romance.
Yeah, Brad, what you said about increasing training and awareness of workplace harassment really stuck out to me because it almost feels like a lot of these companies are making it against the rules to be more than friendly with your coworkers.
Yeah, we covered some really interesting topics today. It seems like the pandemic is really going to change the way that our workplace looks into the future. Along with this potential minimum wage increase and our new generation entering the workforce, we definitely have a lot to look forward to.
Now we will be moving on to our debate segment, and our topic is virtual professionalism in the workplace.
Hi, this is Brett, and the hot topic that we've chosen for this portion is virtual professionalism. Today, I will be facilitating this discussion surrounding the topic, along with my co-facilitator, Ke. While I was doing some preliminary research around this topic, I was listening to a podcast from Dan Smolin, and there was a guest that mentioned how the pandemic has really accelerated the direction that the world is taking when it comes to the way that our workplace looks. In other words, we don't really have a choice about the movement towards telework and telemedicine. It's really just what the future holds. And so, with this being the case, we do need to figure out what it's going to look like to maintain professionalism in this new virtual workplace. And today, we will be discussing this in depth. What were some of your findings, Ke?
Hello, my name is Ke Xu. COVID-19 and remote work migration ushered in a new era of professionalism. With millions of employees' professionalism suddenly being defined by how they behave within the confines of a box on a screen. Work from home earlier this year, they were faced with a supply of new and unexpected challenges. Some people think that being professional is as simple as turning on the camera. However, there are some advantages and disadvantages. All of these challenges help redefine professionalism in the digital age. Virtual professionalism is a significant problem, and we need to have a better conversation about this issue than what has been done before.
Okay, so first we're going to hear from Harrison and Leo and hear their take on this topic.
So, as Brett just mentioned, the pandemic has really just accelerated this trend toward telework. Like even before the pandemic, there was this big trend toward working from home and just virtual work in general. And now that this pandemic has forced everyone to work from home, we have to get ahead of this and set the rules for what virtual professionalism is and what it looks like. And that means logging into your meetings on time and not making people wait, and it means making sure that all of your technology is working before your meetings start, making sure that your PowerPoints are working. Everything that you would be doing for a physical meeting, you're still doing it, but just in a virtual environment. So Leo, what do you think?
I think one of the major problems of remote working is that the virtual workplace is the distractions at home. Many employees are struggling with the low productivity simply because they are staying in a comfort zone while working. Like we as college students, we usually study at the library before the final just because we cannot focus at home or in the dorm. Dressing professionally provides a professional environment for employees, just like the library for students.
Yeah, and dressing professionally has other benefits too. Obviously, whenever you're meeting with like other companies or partners, clients, it's important to look professional, just to give them that sense of assuredness. But there's also a psychological benefit that goes along with dressing up. You hear look good, feel good, play good all the time in sports, but it definitely ties into the workplace as well. You dress up, you're going to do a job, and you put yourself in that mindset.
Yeah, I agree. I think professional attire during the work is like a psychological hint for employees to help them focus on the work. Before the pandemic, companies like Google and Microsoft have already asked their employees to dress professionally during the work and meeting because it shows the respect to the coworkers and clients.
Thanks very much, and we will have Des and Sarah talk about this topic.
Yeah, so Sierra and I are arguing that the same standards of professionalism that are upheld in an in-person work environment are not necessarily required in an online one, especially right now during the pandemic.
The two main points in our argument are that keeping strict requirements for employees is having a negative impact on their mental health, and that not everyone has the luxury of a stable at-home work environment.
Yeah, and we don't necessarily think that this needs to be a permanent solution. However, we think that, maybe having a more laid back virtual work environment will greatly help employees through this pandemic. This whole pandemic has had a major negative effect on mental health, and we've all had to adapt to a new way of life, including working virtually. And I read this article recently on Inc.com that said in a survey of more than 9,700 people, 66% of those professionals believe that working from home is hurting their mental health. And, the hospitality industry is often referred to as the people business. And right now, we need to take care of our people, the people that are working for us. So letting employees dress more casually if they choose to, or letting them choose whether or not to have their cameras on, is one way of taking off some of that pressure. And it's just one less thing they need to worry about.
Mental health is not the only factor in why regulations should be less restrictive in a virtual work environment, though. When working from home, either by force or choice, not everyone has the luxury of stability or a separate working space. By adapting the rules to fit the new lifestyle people have grown accustomed to, pressure can be relieved. For example, implementing virtual backgrounds or being lax with meeting start times to account for potential internet connection issues. Bad connection can cause cutting out and lag. Another example of changing the rules, as suggested by the BBC, is using the raising hand feature or putting pauses in your speech to account for these issues. Understanding that your employees might be struggling and implementing changes to help them will show compassion and create a better work environment.
Yeah, so overall, we just believe that these rules should be changed to accommodate employees in the changing work environment and not forcing old rules to fit the new standards.
Thanks, guys, for presenting your sides. Now we're going to go into a guided discussion, and Ko and I have some prepared questions. So the first question is, in the virtual workplace, there are different aspects to professionalism. Which aspect do you think is more important, engagement or appearance?
Overall, I'd have to go with engagement as the more important of the two. What you look like or what you wear isn't an indication of how well you perform in the workplace, your personality, or your skill set. Having someone that is engaging and social would be a better benefit to the company than someone who dresses the part but is all show.
Right, so I think it all depends on the situation. For like weekly staff meetings or things where you're just going over, data or numbers with the same group of people every week, it doesn't really matter if you're dressed up. But if you're meeting with clients or with partners, other businesses, it's always important to be looking your best, because that's how you're presenting not just yourself, but the entire company that you're working for. And it's important to look professional if you're trying to get a promotion, because that is one thing that bosses notice, is just looking professional.
Thanks very much. And the second question is, what are your thoughts on how we can best take care of our mental and physical health in the virtual workplace?
Yeah, so I think one of the most difficult parts about working virtually at home is that there's really no separation between work and home life, since they're in the same place. So I think it's important to take short breaks throughout the day and get out of the house. Doing something as simple as like taking a walk around your neighborhood or something helps your mental and physical health. And making little changes like this to your routine can have a really positive impact.
Yeah, I think it's important to get everything well planned to ensure work-life balance, and try to open the camera and talk to people so they can release some mental stress. Also, there are many great online physical exercise programs at home or outdoors that can be very beneficial to both our physical and mental health.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. This was an interesting discussion, and I really think that we dove into a lot of important factors to consider within this new environment of virtual professionalism.
It's a serious problem, and I think we will need to discuss it further. Overall, this was a good discussion about virtual professionalism. Now we'll be moving on our interview with our guest star, Jeremy Buffer.
Okay, so we have made it to our final segment in the podcast called Real World Perspectives.
In this portion of the podcast, we will be speaking with Jeremy Buffer.
Jeremy will be giving us his perspectives on various HR and hospitality topics.
He is a Penn State graduate with a degree in hospitality management.
Upon graduation, Jeremy worked as a food and beverage manager at the JW Marriott in Washington, D.C.
Currently, Jeremy is still working as a food and beverage manager, but now works at the Ritz-Carlton in New York City.
Jeremy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. How are you doing?
Oh, amazing. Thank you all for deciding to choose me as your person to interview. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction as well. It blew me out of the water, so thank you. Let's get started. This seems to be a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for me and for you as well.
So we can get into the Q&A. I know you said that you looked over the questions that we sent to you and everything. So I think the first one that we sent you was, what do you think the most pressing HR issue is that faces the world of work today?
So right now, in my opinion, in the world of hospitality, labor is the biggest issue. With everything going on right now, people are trying to stay out of the workplace as much as possible. Given that, they're also making a large sum of money in the unemployment world, along with the bonuses that they do receive. It's a touchy subject, but people are deciding to stay out of the workforce for two major reasons, and that's compensation and that's safety. We're doing everything in our power to make it safe for our ladies and gentlemen, for our associates at the workplace. For example, setting up sanitation stations all over, ensuring that ladies and gentlemen are wearing masks throughout the workplace. And this is just for hotels per se, but it is a very, very pressing issue. And labor being the number one HR talk is labor retainment.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess we'll pass it on to Ke for the next interview question.
From your vantage point, how has the pandemic changed the workplace most significantly?
How has the pandemic changed the workforce? It depends where you are. In New York, 80% of the hotels are running on minimum occupancy, on bare bones occupancy, and or closed. So that is a big, big challenge. New York is also a hub for many different people, and people are trying to avoid these big city environments. Since in Fort Lauderdale, a smaller city, I've been working and it has been like nothing even happened. The pandemic is not a word used here. You should see the bar at night, you should see the restaurant. It's like there is no change whatsoever from 2019. So in Florida, in this location, in this region, it's like nothing impacted service or the hotel industry at all. In other terms, in DC, where it's a very different type of environment, where business travelers, where government travelers makes up 90% of the occupancy percentage, all government is working from home. Just like you and I are having this conversation over Zoom, they're having their conversations over Zoom. It depends, in my opinion, where you are located in the world. I'm not sure how it is for Pittsburgh or State College or wherever locations you are from, but New York has been it's been a big struggle in order to get people in the door. DC, very similar in terms of their government, in terms of government needs and regulations. But in Florida, it's like nothing even happened. So in my opinion, it's where you are located as opposed to the hotel world as a whole.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I will pass it to Desi.
Okay, so beyond monetary compensation, what do you think really motivates employees to perform and stay where they are?
I think it's direct reports. Managers play a huge role in the hourly associate's life. I've had great managers. I've also had poor managers, and it kind of shows throughout my skin. I'm a very mirrored face. If I am upset, you'll know I'm upset, and I can't hide it well at all. But that has been one of my experiences. And just like I said, I like to know my ladies and gentlemen, my associates on a personal level. I like to know them. I like to know who they are, who they stand for, what their morals are, who their family is, what they do for a living, what they do outside of work. So it just depends on who your direct report is. Someone who you're spending more time with in your family, you want to be a positive influence in your life. I spend 80 hours a week at work sometimes, and my manager is the best person to walk on this floor, to walk on this in the building's floor. And it shows because it motivates me and it ensures that I'm happy at work. Although in turn, if you have a manager that's not so great, you'll see that as well. And your employees will see that too.
Yeah, and I would totally agree. I think my best or my favorite jobs have been because of the people I work with. It doesn't have to be like the greatest job in the world. So I think that definitely makes people happy at work and will result in them doing a better job at work and perform better. So I will pass it off to Sierra now.
Yeah, okay. And then what advice do you have for college students today entering the workforce? Like what sets of skills should college students be developing?
Sure. Every single college graduate comes out with a college degree. So there are going to be a lot of you, and it's going to be it's going to be a big competition base in order to get your first, second, third, fourth, fifth job. So my idea and my advice for you is to go a little bit above and beyond. Separate yourself from the day-to-day hourly working. Do something on the outside of work. For example, Harrison and Brett want to be F&B people. Brett wants to be a coffee curologist, or coffee curator. That's what I should say. Coffee curator, not mixologist. Got the two confused. So he's definitely going to dive deep into the world of coffee. He might go to Costa Rica to learn about their coffee beans. He might go do something a little bit outside the scope of his day-to-day life. Do something that separates you from the crew. What I did and how I'm very fortunate to land these amazing positions that I'm currently in is when I was in Washington, D.C., I created my own brand of liquor from a hyper-local distillery, and we brought it into property. And right now, Marriott's have a J.W. Marriott liquor brand, and that was created due to my craziness outside of work. So it's something that differentiates or separates me from the rest of the crew. And I hold myself to that and I promote that concept, just doing something that you're uncomfortable with, a little bit outside of your comfort zone to get that competitive edge.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to pass it on to Leo for his question.
Hi, Jeremy. So my question is, during these difficult and special times, what do you think is the best way to make the work fun for employees?
I don't think that foundation has ever changed. You, as a manager, you need to ensure that your employees are having the best time and are happy to come to work. So in terms of how has that changed things, I don't really think it has. I think that has always been a staple of any industry, but even more so in hospitality, where it is a very difficult, tedious job. Making the workplace fun has been on the forefront of our objective from the time this company started until now. So it's been a focal point of ensuring that your employees are having fun at the workplace. That includes having parties, having outings. As a manager, in my perspective, I like to make that one-on-one connection with each and every one of them. I have it in my mind that if I don't know my employee's son's birthday or when they're going on their next vacation, if I don't know that information, then I'm doing something wrong. I like to really get to know my individuals, my ladies and gentlemen, on a personal level, as well as being their manager and creating that equal balance of professionalism to being their quote unquote friend.
Thank you. I'll pass off to Harrison.
So women in today's workplace in general still make less than men working the same jobs, and women are still a minority in upper management positions. What do you think is necessary for that to break through that glass ceiling?
So in my personal experience, my only bosses are ladies. It's fun. It's good to see. In terms of upper management on property level, I've been seeing more and more ladies hold the roles of executive members. For example, the general managers, as well as director of food and beverage, as well as accounting directors. So I've seen on property level a big switch in terms of being paid the same and rates. That's something that's over my head, out of my hands. But I don't think that it will survive any longer. I think the world is changing in a rapid pace, and I think that this will be the new idea and the new standard.
I tend to agree with that. Yeah. So Jeremy, just one final question for you. What's one of your favorite memories from Penn State?
Oof. Freshman year, one of my first football games, I think it was the whiteout game, Ohio State. Unbelievable. I've never been in such an environment like that. Of course, I've spent so much time doing everything else, but there's something that Penn State football has that not too many places have. You can't find that. You can't find that anywhere else. It's such an extraordinary scene, and I actually have been back, not for the blue and white, but I have been back for a few games, and it's something that each and every time blows me out of the water. It's like a new experience each and every time, and tailgating just as fun. So I'm not sure how they're gonna do that this year. I heard they got rid of tailgating early last year. I forgot when it was, but they should definitely bring that back. That was by far one of the best couple moments.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate you just being here and giving us insight, and even just taking an interest into kind of our futures and what we want to do, and giving us advice about that too. So, hopefully we'll be able to, some of us at least, be able to maybe cross paths more with you in the future. But again, yeah, thanks for your time.
Or you guys will fire me one day. I know you guys are going to be the CEOs and CFOs of the industry, so I have to be on as many good terms as possible.
Good point.
Thank you so much. Maybe I'll see you in New York.
Better stop by. Amazing. Well, thank you each and every one of you. This is an amazing opportunity for me, getting to know you guys and getting to share a little bit of insight on the real world and the pressing HR issues. So I wanted to thank each one of you individually for choosing me.
Well, thanks again, Jeremy. This was a really interesting conversation. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode of HR from Happy Valley.
Thanks everyone for listening. It's a good experience to listen to others' opinions, making me get a lot.
We covered so many topics ranging from romance in the workplace to virtual professionalism. I hope you've all learned as much as I have about the HR world.
Yeah, we had some great discussions today. I really enjoyed listening to everyone's perspectives on the issues we're facing today in the world of HR.
The pandemic is getting better. I can't wait to see you guys on campus next semester. And we hope that you can tell us what you think about our topics.
That's all from us today, folks. Thank you for listening to HR from Happy Valley. Stay classy.